When I'm starting my illustration project, I usually think what I want my final dimensions to be before I get started. In this case, I'm just going to do a regular letter size piece of paper, and I want to use multiple artboards so that I can kind of play with different colors and I have more room to practice on. I don't have to just work in the workspace in the gray area. So I'm going to switch it to 3 artboards. I'm going to hit create. And to prep for my illustration, I start by bringing in my color scheme and my sketches that I want to use. So I'm going to bring in those sketches. I just like to click and drag. It's just really quick. Make sure I'm on my selection tool so that I can resize. I hold shift to keep it constrained. Just move it onto one of my artboards that I have. So it's really nice to work with multiple artboards for this reason. I can be doing one thing over here, one thing here. I even use this workspace, and I'll show you how I'm gonna do that. When I'm making my color schemes, I start with little rectangles, and I just make them all the same. I like to put them all in a row. I'm only going to use about 4 colors for mine. And then when I want to change the color, I click on it, and then I click my fill color, just like we did in the vector shape assignment. So if I wanted to be using a blue color or green color, all those things, I actually have chosen my colors over here already. So I'm just going to copy them and bring them over. Like that. And I probably need to add one more color, like a dark color. So I'm going to change that to maybe like a darker brownish color. So this is going to be my color scheme that I'm going to be working with. I may add colors later, but for now, it just makes it really easy to reference, and they're right there for me to see. When I'm ready to start drawing my illustration, I can use the pen tool, which we've been practicing. And I just like to make sure I'm just on a stroke when I'm drawing, I'll just use that brown color for now. So in Illustrator, we like to use layering of the different shapes. It makes it quicker to change colors later on and just keep everything in shapes. When I'm working with my design, I would like for my petals to be all connected into one shape, and then I'll add my circle on top as another shape so that it keeps it simple. I don't have to worry about grouping the shapes. Right off the bat, they're just already one shape. And I can use my shape builder to connect them if I need to later on and make more shapes. So get my pen tool out, start playing around with those things. Move that handle down. And mine, I want this hand-drawn look, so I'm not like worrying about making it perfect right now. And then connect it off. So right now it's one shape. And I'm going to pick my fill color, which I want it to be this creamy color. So I'm going to hit I on my keyboard for my ink tool. And I have those petals selected, and I can just click on the color that I want them to be. And now it's doing just a fill of that cream color, no stroke right now. I don't need a stroke. And now I have my petals. And I'm going to move those out of the way for now. From there so you can see them. And I'm going to do my circle now. Another thing you can do is the brush tool. And it really won't start working unless you've selected which brush you're going to use and make sure you've made your selections, and then you can start drawing with it and what your stroke size. So I'm just going to paint myself a little circle here, and I'm going to click my selector tool and switch. I want it not to be a stroke of brown, but filled that brown color, which I have that option up here. I can just click I on my keyboard for the ink, select it, and it has now switched it to that brown color. And then I can layer it over the top of my petals, exactly where I want them to go. I can make adjustments after I've done it with my direct selection tool. I can, if I want it to come up higher here, I have this extra anchor point I don't need, so I can click the minus on my keyboard and switch to the minus anchor point. I'm happier about that. Right there. Looks more like what I was thinking of. The next thing I want to do is actually get my background ready so I can start moving things and placing them onto my background. To do a background, I'm going to do a new layer. If your layers aren't showing up, go to Window and click on Layers. My layer is now on top. I'm going to bring it to the bottom, behind, just like in Photoshop. And I'm going to draw my background layer color in a rectangle just over the top of it. Don't want it to be brown or else I won't see some of the things I want to see. I'm going to do it this green color. So I'm going to switch to that green color. And then I'm going to lock, and it looks like I drew my rectangle on my layer 1, and I don't want that. So I'm going to actually cut that out, Command X, and paste it onto layer 2, Command V. So now it's on my correct layer. I can lock this layer, and then it's just going to be green, and I don't have to worry about it getting in the way. It's just by itself. So I'm going to select what I've designed over here, and I'm going to move it on top of this layer. And I can see that I have this. And I decided I'm going to switch it, the inside, to this color. And I like that even better. So it's really easy to use that ink tool, the eyedropper, to switch your fill and stroke colors to whatever you've designed in your color scheme. That's super handy. I'm going to show you also how I do small little dots. I use my brush tool, and I just draw them. Make sure I'm switched from no stroke to just fill. And I've got these small little dots that I've been drawing. And I'm going to do another one. I can switch it from no stroke to just a fill, so I just see my dots. I can even zoom in really, really far. Remember, vectors aren't going to pixelate like our raster, which is so nice. And I can make adjustments with my direct selection tool to my little dots. I'm make them look more squiggly. Making adjustments to my shape so it's exactly how I want it. And then I know I want my dots to be brown, so I'm going to click on those, select them with my regular selector tool, make select them brown and then move them onto my illustration. So now you can see that each color is kind of its own layer shape. They're on the same layer, but they're one's forward and one's back and one's in the middle on that layer. If you need to make adjustments to layers, remember we right click, arrange, bring to front. Now that part shape is in front on that layer. As I continue my illustration, I'm going to continue to use my pen tool, shape tools, building different shapes, the brush tool to combine and make an entire illustration. Now that I've finished doing all the details that I would like with my pen tool and my brush tool, I want to do some resizing, moving things around and playing with positions. And you can see that like if I were to select my flower, I'd only get the petals, or each piece is individual right now. If I would like to move the whole flower at once, I need to select every part. So I can either do that or I can click and drag since my background's locked. And then I'm going to right click and I'm going to click group. So from now on, whatever I do, wherever I click, I can move the entire flower. I can get it more centered and that thing, sort of thing. And because I have an outline for my stroke with my fill on some things, when I resize, you'll see some problems. It looks really fat and chunky. And that is because my stroke is staying the same size, but everything else is getting smaller. To combat that problem and fix that, I'm going to now turn my stroke to become an outline and outline my stroke. So I just click Object on my top menu bar and I go down to Path and outline my stroke. So now my stroke is no longer a stroke and it's outlined and it's part of the fill. My whole stroke is now outlined. That way, basically it's filled. And so when I resize small, I don't have that problem of it looking fat and chunky. So I'm going to go through and group all my flowers parts together. Right click, group, select it, right click, group. So now I can move anything around that I would like. Now none of these flowers have a stroke, so I don't have to worry about resizing and having that problem of it looking chunky. So now I can kind of play, I can even copy and paste my flower and have another one. I can turn it, do kind of 3 flowers and place them where I'd like. And it makes it just so much easier to be able to just click and move and make changes to it. I can even say I like this one. The reason I have another artboard is so I could keep that version. I'm going to unlock my background so I can select my background as well. I'm going to copy and paste it onto a new artboard. I could then do a different arrangement of this. I could do different color versions. So say I wanted to see if I could find a different background. I'm going to show you one cool way to change colors very quickly, and that is the color wheel up here. If I click on it, it's going to give me all the colors I've chosen. And a fun way to switch colors up is you can go here and it will randomly change your color order. So everything's now in a different place. You can see over here what's happening.